Everything looked normal during Monaco qualifying, until it wasn't. In a shocking twist that's left the Formula One world rattled, Lewis Hamilton has found himself slapped with a heavy penalty that's thrown his weekend into complete disarray. What was supposed to be a standard session suddenly turned dramatic when fresh information appeared, evidence that the FIA hadn't seen before. What makes this more surprising? They had already reviewed the incident once, issued no penalty, and moved on. Then, out of nowhere, a confidential batch of data and radio messages surfaced. It changed everything. This wasn't just a case of poor timing or an unlucky moment on track. According to people with knowledge of the situation, the source of this leak wasn't another team or an external review panel. It came from inside, and not just anywhere inside, within Ferrari's own ranks. Someone either close to Hamilton or in the technical team handed over something critical. A radio exchange that completely shifted how the incident was understood. With that piece of communication in front of them, FIA officials decided they couldn't ignore it. The entire situation had to be reevaluated. What followed wasn't a small update. It was a total U-turn. Hamilton is now facing consequences that go far beyond a few lost grid spots. This single leak has stirred up serious concerns. Inside the paddock, people are asking, is Ferrari cracking under the weight of expectations? And more urgently, can Hamilton truly rely on the system around him? In this video, we're walking through what that leaked data actually revealed, how it ended up in FIA hands, and why it might change the direction of the entire 2025 season. It all began at a corner that tests every driver's nerve, the Masset section at Monaco, fast and technical. Hamilton had just wrapped a push lap and was told through his radio that Max Verstappen was easing off. Based on that update, Hamilton slowed, adjusted his line, and got ready for another flying lap. But that's where the entire problem started. What Lewis didn't know at that moment was that Verstappen wasn't slowing down at all. He was pushing, hard, still in the middle of a hot lap. As Hamilton drifted back onto the racing line, Verstappen had to abruptly lift off the throttle to avoid making contact. That split-second reaction ruined his lap completely. At first, people assumed it was a case of mixed signals or just bad luck, something that can happen in a chaotic qualifying session. But that explanation didn't hold for long. After the session ended, something unexpected happened. A new clip surfaced, onboard footage combined with audio from a secondary team radio feed that hadn't been included in the initial FIA investigation. That material, along with telemetry data, showed something worrying. The Ferrari garage had informed Hamilton that Verstappen was cooling down, when in reality, the Red Bull driver was still attacking the track. The timing of the message, the tone of voice from the race engineer, and Hamilton's exact car position, everything matched to suggest that the Ferrari side had given the wrong update at precisely the worst time. And here's the key point. None of this information had been part of the official review. It was only after someone passed it along, quietly and without revealing their identity, that the full situation came into focus. Once the FIA reviewed this new evidence, the response was swift. What had been dismissed earlier as an unfortunate moment became a serious violation. Interfering with another driver's qualifying lap is not taken lightly in Formula One, and the stewards wasted no time reopening the case, right in the middle of the Monaco Grand Prix weekend. The news hit Ferrari like a punch to the gut. Ferrari didn't see it coming. They had already moved their attention to Sunday's race, thinking the qualifying drama was behind them. But with the case reopened and new proof on the table, the stewards made their ruling clear. Lewis Hamilton would be handed a 3-place grid penalty for getting in Verstappen's way. Just like that, his qualifying result was wiped out. He went from fighting at the front to being pushed into the middle of the pack, the worst spot to be on a circuit like Monaco. The reaction inside the Ferrari garage was immediate and intense. According to people close to the team, there was a sense of frustration and disbelief. They believed the matter was done and dusted. Instead, they were right back in the spotlight, trying to make sense of how this information had slipped through, the cracks, and worse, how it had leaked at all. Hamilton, meanwhile, stayed calm in public. In interviews and private conversations, he made one thing clear. This whole situation could have been avoided if the full data had been reviewed from the start. He didn't raise his voice or call anyone out, but his message carried weight. He knew this wasn't just a small error. In Monaco, grid position means everything, and starting from 7th instead of near the front is a massive setback. It's more than just a penalty. It's a change in momentum, a disruption to a strategy that had been carefully built for weeks. With Monaco's tight layout and limited overtaking spots, falling back even a few places can mean the difference between a podium finish and finishing outside the points entirely. And just like that, Ferrari's carefully planned weekend was thrown into chaos. The unexpected shift in grid position left Ferrari scrambling. Their whole race strategy had revolved around Hamilton starting near the front, ideally on the second row. That placement would have given him a real shot at attacking, early and controlling the pace. But now, with him dropped to 7th, those plans were as good as useless. Starting that far back in Monaco is almost like being boxed in. The narrow streets, sharp turns, and short straights mean that overtaking is close to impossible unless the driver ahead makes a mistake or something unpredictable happens, like a safety car. Ferrari had to make a quick decision, either take a risk or accept a quiet result. Meanwhile, on the other side of the garage, Charles Leclerc found himself in a more favorable position. With clean air ahead of him, his path looked smoother. That raised an uncomfortable but unavoidable question. Would Ferrari now shift focus toward giving Leclerc the best chance at a top finish, even if it meant compromising Hamilton's race? Inside the paddock, whispers started. Some insiders began to wonder if Hamilton might be asked to support Leclerc's race, maybe by holding off competitors or trying an alternate pit strategy that helped the team overall, but not necessarily his own result. It's a tricky situation. No team wants to admit they're favoring one driver, but sometimes the circumstances push them into it. And with the stakes so high at Monaco, there was very little room for error. One bold move could rescue the race or make it worse. For Ferrari, the pressure was rising fast. Every decision from this point on could shape how the rest of their weekend, and maybe even their season, would go. As the drama unfolded, all attention turned toward the origin of the leak. And this is where things took a troubling turn for Ferrari. It wasn't an outside hack or a media investigation that unearthed the missing data. According to trusted sources, the leak came from within the team itself. That revelation sent shockwaves through the paddock. Someone on the inside, perhaps a frustrated team member, or someone who felt the truth needed to come out, had shared the backup communication logs and footage. Whether it was a cry for change or a silent protest, the result was clear. It exposed a major misstep Ferrari had hoped would stay hidden. At the center of all this stood Riccardo Adami, Hamilton's race engineer. He was the one who passed along the wrong information about Verstappen's position. Now, with the situation spiraling, all eyes were on him. From fans to management, everyone wanted answers. And while Hamilton remained composed publicly, signs of strain had started to show. Quietly, there were hints that his confidence in the team's race strategy group was beginning to weaken. It wasn't just one mistake, it was part of a growing pattern. And in Formula One, consistent errors can cost. More than just a race, they can ruin a championship. Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur finally stepped in. Facing cameras and tough questions, he admitted the weekend had taken a turn no one wanted. "We made mistakes," he said, "and someone made sure the world saw them." It was a rare moment of transparency for a team known for keeping things behind closed doors. Now, instead of focusing only on the racetrack, Ferrari is dealing with internal fallout. The Hamilton era, which promised a new chapter of strength and structure, is already being tested. And with other teams watching closely, the pressure to fix things is higher than ever. In the end, what should have been a standard qualifying session turned into a warning shot, one that revealed just how fragile things can become when trust inside the garage begins to crack.